So exciting. You know, we have Pastor Chris Baxter here on Sandrie and Friends, and his book, which I am so excited to make you aware of, Love GPS, available on Amazon, and you'll hear all about it. He's going to be on our show, and it's going to be part one and part two. It's going to be amazing, Pastor Chris. Tell us about your book.
It's going to be amazing. Join us on Sandrie and Friends as we dive into Love GPS. We're loving God, loving people, and loving to serve. Is your GPS routing you in the right direction? Come join us on Sandrie and Friends.
See you there. Welcome to Sandrie and Friends. So excited to be right here with you. And thank you so much for welcoming me into your living room, into your home, into your office, wherever you may be. You see, we're at a global level, so it's exciting to know. I don't know what time it is. It could be late night, early morning. I have no idea. But today, we have an amazing, amazing program for you. So I have with me none other than Pastor Chris Baxter from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Welcome, Pastor.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm just excited to be here, and let's see what God has for us today.
Oh, whatever He has is great. We've been friends, Pastor Chris Baxter and I, for years. His lovely wife, Ibeliz, actually like family.
Yes.
But I found interesting that through the process of ministry and growth and expansion, and so many things unfolding in the midst of all this, there's what people call a pandemic, which I call a plandemic. But I have you to know that during the pandemic, Pastor Chris was inspired by the Holy Spirit, I say, and he wrote the book, Love GPS. Yep. I absolutely love the book. I love what it's about. And I said, you know what? Got to have him on Sandrie and Friends to talk about what is Love GPS? How will that even benefit us, me? How can we grow with Love GPS? How is this birth?
Sure. So it's a great concept. Well, let me toot my own horn, right? It's a great concept. But it's a concept where we're all using GPSs nowadays, and God is love. We know that God is love, and so are we really walking in love? And I think that if we use the concept of a GPS and we say, okay, and GPS in this sense stands for God, people, and serving. So I'm to love God,
people, and serving.
Right. So I'm to love God, I'm to love people, and I'm to love serving.
Say that again. Love God.
Right. Love people, and love serving. So I think all three aspects are very important as people having a relationship with God. If we say that we're Christians, then we have to flow in this. So I think that the idea is that our love walk determines what direction we're heading in.
Wow.
Are we really heading in the right direction with our relationship with God, with people, our family, our friends, our coworkers, and then how we serve people?
So let's go back.
Okay.
And let's talk about communication, love, convenience.
Sure. So basically, the concept here is that we either love at a demonstration.
Love out of demonstration.
Right. Love out of convenience.
Love out of convenience.
Or love with a skewed definition of love.
Lord Jesus.
So, I mean, I've been in church for many years, and I think that what I can say is this. Love at a demonstration is what we're called to, but maybe not many are doing it. I think most of us, and I've been guilty before, we love out of convenience. Whether it's with God, whether it's with people, or even when it's serving, what's the benefit from me? A lot of people, we run to God when something's going wrong, and we we don't continue to
So
love them. When we get
selfish
through it.
motives.
Yeah, it's a selfish motive.
What's in it for me? Not how can I serve you, but how can you serve me?
Exactly, or what reward I might receive
Yes,
from
yes.
serving. And I think what happens, that has a lot to do with our culture and our society, especially here in the United States.
The Western.
Yeah, where everything is about self gratification, self awareness. So I think what happens with that is that we lose touch, we lose sight of how God has implanted in us love. God is love, and He wants us to demonstrate that even when it doesn't benefit us. Even when it doesn't benefit us, we have to demonstrate that love.
I think that's a challenge.
It
So
is.
how do we flip the script? How do we turn that around then?
Well, one thing I've learned from you is that love is a choice.
Mm.
Love is a choice. It's not a feeling. It's not an emotion. And there's going to be days where we wake up and we're not going to feel like
That's
walking in
right.
love. Whether it be, not only with God, God forbid we don't want to love Him, but with our spouse, with our children, with maybe our coworker that this is just the day I don't want to deal with it. But how do we get past that? How do we look past that and say, you know what? No, I'm going to walk in love today no matter what it's going to cost
So
me.
how do we get past that?
Well, it's changing the way I think we think. I think it's allowing ourselves to understand that there's a bigger picture than just this very moment. And I think that's the one thing I've learned from you with the love is a choice. That it, even though I don't feel the love in return, I'm going to give it anyway because it's about who I am and not about what I'm trying to portray.
I've learned, I have to tell you, loving did not come easy to me, Pastor Chris. And I'm a preacher's kid all my wonderful life. I'll be 62 February 24th. But love, I could not wrap myself around the word love. And I grew up, John 3:16, for God so loved the
Sure.
world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever, what? Perish, what?
Who have everlasting
Would have everlasting life.
could-
And what? And when you think about it, I heard it day in and day out. But to love, I like people,
Sure.
but to wrap myself around love was quite a process. In reading your book, I connected so much. I was able to not relate, connect, and even tweak
Sure.
a few areas here and there. Tell me more about that process.
Well, I think, and hearing what you just said, my wife is a preacher's daughter. Also grew up in the church, and what I've come to know, and in fact, I pastored with her family for 20 years. It was a blessing. They were awesome man and woman of God, Pastor Fernando and Ruth Miranda.
I know them well.
And I was privileged to be 20 years in ministry with them and serve them. And I think what happens a lot of times is we see a lot in church. Let's just be honest. We see a lot. We see people take advantage of the love, the kindness, the being there, going out the extra mile. And what happens with a lot of pastors' kids is that they see their parents sometimes going that extra mile, and they even feel neglected. And so then as they get older, they start to feel like, well, I'm going to put my guard up. I'm not going to allow what happened to my parents to happen to me. And so, but when we understand that there's a bigger picture, there's a really bigger picture. We don't know what part if everybody was a motion picture, we don't know what part in that movie we're playing for them. And that's why it's so important that we walk in love. Because that, as it gets to the end, they may remember that moment. Say, you know what? I was shown love by a man or woman of God when nobody else would show me love.
Absolutely. I think I reached a place in life where I wrapped myself around that love, and that transformed me.
Yeah.
When I made that connection and I began to see myself the way God sees me, wow, and a change of mind. Because you see, when you see yourself the way God sees you, then you see like Him, you hear like Him, you speak like Him, and therefore you conclude correctly.
Sure.
So Love GPS, that it takes us in that direction, where if you really, really are looking and you're in search and you want a true change, it's like that GPS. You know what happens, right? When you make that wrong turn, what does it say?
It just keeps rerouting you.
It keeps rerouting you.
Reroute, and U-turn. And we have to determine, though, are we going to listen to the Spirit of God and get back on course, or are we going to ignore the directions and shut it off? And that's where I think where it gets dangerous. If we decide to turn it off. I remember I've been very hurt twice in my life by somebody very close, very close. And would never expect it. And I remember the first time it occurred, I was talking with the pastor, and I was still young in the Lord. I was in my 20s, and I'm still young in the Lord, by the way. But I was in my 20s, and I remember the pastor telling me this, and this has stayed with me all through since that time. He said, Chris, we're gonna really find out what kind of Christian you are right now.
Mm.
Will you be able to love and forgive and move forward? Or will you turn in an opposite direction and shun that person and cast them aside? And it was so difficult for me, so difficult at that moment to comprehend that. But you know what? The Spirit of God just came over me. And I've ever since that moment, I've strived to say, all right, Lord, not what I want. What would you want from me? How would you want me to respond in this situation?
And I think also when we go through those, I'm thankful for those of you who have hurt me. I'm speaking now. Listen, the process, the making fun, that you'll never amount to anything. I realized that they literally sharpened me. Iron sharpens iron. They made me to grow up maybe a little quicker, a little sooner. But the truth of the matter is that I've even learned to love my enemies. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, well, it does now to me. It didn't years ago, but now it does. And I found myself praying for those that either hurt me or did something wrong, and asked Lord that God would forgive them. And I had to release that forgiveness. That's one of the chapters in the book. We have to be able to forgive and let go. Doesn't mean you have to be camping with them and go on vacation, but you have to learn to let it go because it's only hurting you.
And even when we forgive, forgiveness is for our sake, you know?
It's for us.
And when you mention choices, you know, we can choose our choices, but we cannot choose the consequences of our choices. And the thing about the choices that we make is that they do turn around and they make us. So I intentionally made a decision. Wait a minute, Sandrie. Do not delay your destiny no more. Yeah. Learning to wrap myself around you. I'm going to love. It's going to be unconditional love. And I think you've experienced that too, Pastor Chris, that unconditional love, no matter what.
No matter what, you walk it. And again, back to what we said earlier, it's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
We could walk away and say, you know what, no, I'm not going to do this. But what's that doing for us? Where's God in that circumstance, in that situation where we confess that we love the Lord, right? Bible says, love the Lord above all things with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And in that we keep the whole law. And if that's what it takes, then all right, Lord, teach me every day. And it's not something we're gonna master, I don't think, until we're in His presence, right? So every day we're learning, and there's hiccups along the way, but we keep going.
So let me ask you this, Pastor Chris: how can we get your book?
Well, you can get it on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. And also, if you go to our website, lovegps.org, it's available there as a link, and it'll actually take you to Amazon. And support us, but more importantly, get the roadmap to love.
Awesome. So this is Sandrie and Friends with Pastor Chris Baxter. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Sandrie with Sandrie and Friends. I want you to follow me, connect with me, keep me posted. We got to keep this conversation going, flowing. So connect, social media, through email, website, whatever. I want to hear from you. Love you. Hi, I want you to watch me on Dominion TV, Sandrie and Friends. Time and day is below.
This is Sandrie and Friends. Laser focus now.
God, you fight for me. God, you fight for me. You're my great defender. You go before me. You go before me. With an army of angels, you fight for me. God of omnipotence, the God of joy, life, health, and strength, to fight for me. I speak to this mountain based upon who I know you to be as your child, as a daughter of a king, and declare, you fight for me. My enemies are defeated. They're under my feet. My mountain no longer causes me to be afraid, but it causes me to be courageous because I know you fight for me. I am not alone.
Wow. So we're back. Love GPS. OMG. And easy reading, under 100 pages on Amazon. And I haven't been asked to say all this, but I'm going to tell you something. You need to read it. You need to read it. We left off with the serving the people, loving the people, but we are here now.
Sure.
Rerouting GPS, right? Every time we make a wrong turn or we must head in a different direction, you hear it. Reroute, reroute, rerouting. Where are you now in your rerouting? Let's talk about that process.
All right, so to get into where I'm at right now, as I said earlier, we were with my in-laws in ministry for 20 years. We accomplished so many wonderful things, and there came a point where God was showing me I needed to take a break. My wife was going through some difficult things, and we were talking, and you know what? I took a year off. I took a year off from ministry. I spoke with my father-in-law and said, I have to take a year off. And honestly, after this year, I don't know where I'm going to be. I just want to hear the voice of the Lord. And I took a year off just to focus on my family. Because I believe, and if you're a pastor listening right now, you must be thinking, this guy is crazy. I was the lead pastor at the time. But what had happened was our first ministry is our home.
Absolutely.
It's our home. And if your first ministry is not your home, you need to reroute right now. Because it has to be your home. I knew my wife needed me, so I took a year off, and all we did in that 1 year is we had family altars. Me and my wife made sure we went on a date every single week. We were doing that prior, but made sure without fail we had a family night, and I visited some couple different churches. I couldn't continue to attend the church because if I was there, then they're gonna always Pastor Chris, right? So, and in that time, I just sat and I listened to the voice of the Lord, and out of that we birthed a ministry. Love GPS. Now the book wasn't birthed from that, but the ministry was, and the idea was that I want to be in a place where we can help people, disciple people, build up leaders, help those that are in need, and not have to be so concerned about everything that comes with ministry. And let me clarify what I mean by that. With the overheads of the facilities, the buildings, and look what we saw with COVID, move the church out of their facilities. And this was like
out of their comfort zone.
And out of I was gonna get to that.
Out of the so-called norm.
Yeah, out of the norm, right? So it's amazing that I had this concept. God said, no, you're gonna take it outside the building. I want you in homes. I want you in parks.
Outside the four walls.
Yeah, and I want you to start to reach people where they're at. And then we have this pandemic, and I said, well, wow, this is perfect. Well, not perfect in the sense that we're happy this is here, but this is what God was showing me that was probably going to happen down the road. And now I have a roadmap and say, hey, we can still get to where God wants us. We don't need the facility.
And when you stop to think about it, we all had to reroute.
We had to reroute.
We had to reprogram. We intentionally had to map it out, have a plan. Rerouting is a must. Where are you right now? And as you reroute it, what happened?
So as we rerouted, we launched the ministry, and then throughout the COVID-19 shutdown, I started writing the book. I said, you know what? I got to put this. This is a teaching that God actually gave me at the beginning of 2015, and I taught it that was like our theme for the year at the ministry, but it always stuck with me. Love God, love people, love serving, and it always repeated in my spirit. And so when this all happened, I started to just jot down everything God showed me about doing everything out of demonstration, not out of your convenience, not out of a previous definition of love. Because let's be honest, some of us, maybe we were raised, we didn't know how to love. We don't know how to receive love. So if we don't know how to receive
what you put into it is what you get out of it.
So if we don't know how to receive love, we don't know how to give love. So I just started to play on those concepts, and the Lord just started showing me in His Word just the different things and how He just loves us so unconditional. He loved, we're trying to make it so perfect, and yet he says, no, no, no. While you were yet sinners, I died for you.
Wow.
And so I was like, all right, Lord, you know our ins and outs. You love, why are we looking for
Every
perfection?
single hair, purple, whatever the color is. Every single. Can you imagine?
And the one thing I've always said, even when I was young in ministry, we got to stop trying to qualify who we're going to love, who can receive Christ, who we're going to welcome, right? He died for everyone.
There
He
you
died
go.
for everyone.
He's all inclusive.
It's all inclusive. And so I'm like, wow. I said, Lord, if I've ever pre-qualified somebody, forgive me. Forgive me for doing that. That's not your heart. That's not your spirit. And from there, we've just taken off.
Love God, love people, love serving, and let that love be unconditional. Reroute. Do whatever it is that you have to do to make it right, to be fit for your assignment. You see, I'm not trying to be Pastor Chris. Pastor Chris is not trying to be me. But there is a job description that is for all of us. Love God, love people, love serving. And it's catchy. I like that. GPS, because in America and all parts, listen, Dubai, Australia, wherever I go to throughout the world, whether it's for conferences, whether it's government, whether it's ministry, whether it's corporate, we all use GPS, all of us. Now, are we all headed in the same direction? Maybe not, but we all need to have direction. And Love GPS is definitely a book that brings you full circle. Love God, love people, love serving. It's about serving and adding value to others and loving people and going beyond. Have you ever, just had a person that they're not quite lovable and you feel like, well, let me tell you, this is me. God has dealt with me in that area because it's so much easier to act like I don't see you, I don't hear you, but that's not what God would do. That's not what he would have us to do. And immediately he reminds me of love GPS, Sandrie, love God, love people, love serving. I've had to change that attitude, and I've had to be intentional about it. It forces me to focus not on the individuals, whatever I may think they lack, but on what I need to sharpen, where I need to improve, so that I can give my best without coming against, and that tends to be religion. You see, I'm not about religion. I'm about a relationship with God. Those labels, about a relationship and connecting to the Father heart of God, that divine plumb line, loving unconditionally. Again, love God, love people, love serving.
Yeah, I think what you're just saying is so true too, because how to love the unlovable, right? And the other thing that I always tell people is that you don't have to like everyone, but you have to love everyone. And people look at you like, well, what is that supposed to mean? I don't have to like everyone, but I have to love them. Well, you don't have to always agree with what everybody does. You don't always have to agree with what they do. But you know what? You're still called to love them. Look at it this way. Would you not save somebody if they were about to fall because I don't like what that person does for a living, or I don't like how that person lives their life, so I'm just going to let them fall off the cliff? No, you're going to grab them and you're going to pull them back in. And I'm always reminded of Jude 22. Have compassion to make a difference. On some have a compassion to make a difference. And that difference, we don't know what that difference is going to mean at that moment, but man, someday that difference is going to mean something in that person's life. And if we can just touch them for that one moment, just that one moment,
compel them.
You don't know what's going to transform at that moment, what's going to transfer to them. So I think it's so important that our antennas are up, right? Our satellites are off, like the GPSs. I had to use a GPS to come to the studio. I got rerouted twice today.
There you go.
But we have to understand that, that Holy Spirit is our satellite.
Hey.
It's our GPS. And if we're willing to listen to it, we're gonna stay the course that God has for us. And it's gonna impact lives. And that's important.
Impacting lives. Compel them, tell them.
Yes.
What was it Andre Crouch used to sing? Tell them, even if they don't believe you or receive you, you tell them. You love them. You draw them. And sometimes you don't have to do a lot of talking. Let your life shine. Let that GPS, that satellite in you, he called the Holy Spirit, that satellite.
Satellite.
Is that satellite active in you? Is your GPS working? Are you being rerouted? Are you listening to the whisper? Are you at that place where you love God, love people, love serving? Yep, I could hear some people say, well, I've been serving for years and you just don't know what I've been through. You know what I know? That if you think like Him, you see like Him, you will speak like Him, you will hear like Him, and you will conclude correctly. Love GPS. Love God, love people, love serving. I love it. I love it. I love it, Pastor Chris.
Thank you.
So honored not just to have you here with us, but to even have you be a part of Hands Fellowship, the Hand Foundation, and a part of our executive team. Walking together,
Yes.
marking, making the difference, and intentionally shifting and
Yes.
bringing about transformation. Sandrie and Friends, we love you. See you soon. Hi, this is Sandrie with Sandrie and Friends. I want you to follow me, connect with me, keep me posted. We got to keep this conversation going, flowing. So connect, social media, through email, website, whatever. I want to hear from you. Love you. Hi, I want you to watch me on Dominion TV, Sandrie and Friends. Time and day is below.
This is Sandrie and Friends. Laser focus now.